Hey folks, it's Woody here over USA Made Blade, and as promised in our last video, I wanted to get another video breaking down this knife. And this is the EOS, or Elite Outfitting Solutions Mini Nautilus Mini Cleaver. And this one's mine, so no worries there on taking this thing apart. But anyway, wanted to do this video. There's just not a lot of content out there about EOS knives. And the Mini Nautilus is our first real experience with them, and we're just blown away. So they've been around for a while, but they've kind of found their niche and their customer base. But we want to expand that, and we want to get these in the hands of other people. So let's show you guys what we got on breaking these things down. To start, I will say it again. I say it in every video. If you're going to be taking knives apart, get yourself some Weehaw bits. So on this video, it's going to be a little different for me because I'm not going to be able to look at the screen. It's just a different setup this time. So hopefully I can keep it all centered for you, and I'll transition back and forth and try and get to where I have the screen and can pull stuff in closer. So for starters, with these Weehaw bits, I believe, now I have not taken this knife completely apart. This is the first time, so let's throw that in there. I have taken just parts of it apart, but this will be my first time breaking it down completely. So it's late night, a little sip of beer doesn't hurt to keep the throat, the palate wet. I believe that every single screw on this so far that I can tell is a Torx T10. So pretty darn sure that's what we're dealing with. But as we go, we might find out I'm wrong. So let's start. I'm going to close this thing up. And this side, the pivot's locked in. So you're starting on the lock side. And you actually have a pivot screw, which has got a pretty decent amount of threading to it. And then you have a pivot collar. All of this is full tie. So nicely done, gives a good look to that pivot there. And then we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and just get the knife disassembled. So you have two handle screws on the lower side. And by the way, I've not talked to the manufacturer about this, so a T10 seems to fit perfectly. So I'm assuming that's what we're using here. I hope I'm not wrong, but they'll let me know if I am, and if I am, I guess I'll delete this video and start over. But let's, so from there, everything's lined up. All the screws are off to be able to take this side off. And then I just wiggle it out. And there she is. There's your lock side. And we'll get more into that here shortly. So as you can see here, looking at it, we've got caged bearings. There is a washer inside of here, and it's got some oil on it, so that's why it's staying in there. There it goes. So there is a steel washer. If you're worried about bearing tracks on the titanium, you won't have to. There's also, so there's your caged bearing, and caged bearing on the other side. So there's also a washer on the other side that does not want to come out. So we'll leave that in there for now. You got a big old stop pin on here, and then your screws holding your carbon fiber in, which we'll take off here in a second, see how that goes. But let's focus back in on this lock side. So you've got a great recessed and hidden steel lock insert that also doubles as your over travel stop. So nicely done on that. And then let's take this pocket clip off. So, because this I thought was just beautifully done. And set those screws separately here. So when you're taking the pocket clip off, this part I have already done. your screws out. God, it's a great fit on that Torx T10, so that's got to be what it is. Now, if you try and just lift this off, it will not come off. You push it, and so the pocket clip is actually machined to where it slides on to the lock side. It's very hard to do at this angle. Slides onto the lock side, so it's on there twice as nice. So if your screws fall out, it's actually got a little bit of retention in there from sliding it on. Or at least it did, but it is a perfect fit in there, almost to the point when it's locked down that you can barely tell that they're two separate pieces. But very nicely done pocket clip. So let's go. This is where I have not gone. So let's put the pocket clip on the pocket clip screws over here. Leave these bearings and these washers up. So nice big pivot collar on that side comes off too. We're going to keep those together. So then here we are on the presentation side, and this one happens to have some carbon fiber on it. I'm assuming these two screws are going to take that right off. Those down here. And I bet this, look at that. Look at that machining on there. Just a perfect lay-in for that carbon fiber. I mean, absolutely perfect. So separate that out. Let's move that down here. And then let's take apart and show you guys this stunning backspacer that they put on this thing. Takes a second there. And wow, yeah, so that is pinned in. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So nice pin for the backspacer. And then look at that big old beautiful backspacer. Tons of machining on it. Just really well done. So here we got the blade. Everything on it. Very nicely done. So, man, that went apart easy. I mean, just easy. So let's see how it goes back together. We'll just start in the opposite direction. Get this floating backspacer here, or this backspacer here. And I think that's the right hole. To double check it. Might not be. Might have that backwards. Yep, I sure did. All right, so putting it on that pin lines it up very nicely. And then get my backspacer screws back in here. Shouldn't be too difficult. And I was correct. Everything on this has been a T10, Torx T10. All right, so backspacer's back in there. I went in nice and easy. Let's get this carbon fiber inlay, which some have it, some don't. Just depends upon the one you want. And I like the position even of the screws. I mean, it's every little detail on this, I think, was just designed very well. And so far, I have not felt any slipping, any attempt of stripping on the screws. So lock side went back in. Ooh, I messed up. Should have put that pivot in first, but hey, I got lucky. So put the pivot on. And this side still has the washer in here. So put the cage bearing on. We make jokes about whether or not I put it on backwards or not later. And then other bearing on. Other washer on. Nope. That's what happens when you have it at an angle. And then let's get this. Oh, you know what? I'm not ready to put that back together yet. So on here, I already showed that off. The steel lock insert is hidden, so you can't see it. But I do know that this comes off really easy. Just slides right out. So, and the ceramic ball detent is on there. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a second, and that's kind of important. Hit the camera for the first time. So that goes in and out very easily. No problems there. Probably might come back here later and actually put just a little bit of Loctite on that screw. Just a tip of a toothpick amount of Loctite. So from here, I do like to put the, let's get that pivot collar back in there and get our pivot screw. And I definitely think the pivot screw needs a little bit of Loctite. I'll go back and do that later, but just a touch on the threads. So I do not tighten this all the way down yet. Get it to where it's about snug. Get these other handle screws back in here. By the way, this lock side just went on easy, and I did forget to take the pressure off the lock, but I did not tighten up that pivot all the way. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. That is already, I haven't tightened it up or anything, already sitting dead centered. So nicely done there. Slide that pocket clip back down, and it kind of comes off a little easier now. Earlier it seemed like you had to slide it, but if you can't get it off, definitely slide it forward. And get this other pocket clip screw in here. Tighten that one down, tighten this one down, and then go back and hit this pivot again. And tighten it to where it's just snug. Zero blade play. Perfect lockup in my opinion. I would say about 25%, maybe a little bit more. No blade play, no lock rock, solid, just solid. So the only thing I would tell you, and the reason I took this half apart earlier, is that fresh out of the box, you do get a little bit of detent grit, and it's just where it's forming that detent trail that you saw on there. So I did oil just a little bit on that detent ball, and did it for the first probably, I've been flipping the hell out of this thing. It is just a flipping machine. Did it for probably the first 500 flips. After the first 500 flips, it got a little gritty. Did it after another 500, and then since then, it has been perfect. It's been flawless. Action's really nice on it. Nice and smooth. I've probably got this detent, or not the detent, probably have the pivot just a little tight. But yeah, nope. Yeah, and it's flawless. I mean, just flawless. So simple simple as hell. And I'm doing this review or this disassembly video because I did the same thing when we were really excited about Koenig, and just wanted to show kind of the simplicity and the perfection of it. I mean, a lot of times when you're taking a knife apart and it's just that easy to put back together, it's because it's just machined so damn well. And that's what's blown me away about these. As I said in the last video, you've got choices of S30V on some and S60V on some. Guys, I'm going to put this thing through its paces, but I've always been very pleased with S30V, and the stuff I'm reading about S60V, especially with the higher heat treats, has been incredible. So I think that's the only thing that's scaring some people off. It doesn't scare me at all. So beautiful knife, EOS Nautilus mini flipper, or mini Nautilus mini cleaver, sorry, and just incredibly well done. So I hope this helps some of you, especially if you like tinkering with your knives, taking them apart and messing with them, anodizing them, all that. These are going to fit that bill really nicely. So we hope you'll check them out. They're available now at USAMadeBlad3e.com. And as always, folks, we appreciate you watching.